Greetings everyone from Mr. Kit Kat and me. Hey, my little battle axe. Hey, he's been in fights again, haven't you? Hey, for whatever reason lately. So, day 2 of this piece. Let's get going. And don't be running off to go and fight again now, Kit Kat. Stay home and be good. Right. So let me get my bearings. What to do? Okay. Let's take it. Let's take off with a little bit of compressed charcoal if I can find it. There we go. So as I had introduced the scene to you yesterday, just to kind of reiterate, I was overnighting in East London en route back, driving back from Cape Town to Durban, and left just to head off to Durban early in the morning, and sort of drove along the coastal road, and came across this stretch. In fact, this stretch of rocks, of rocky beach. There is no beach to speak of, really. It's just, there's a little bit of sand, but it's mostly just rocks, that stretches right out to kind of mid-break, and it runs for about 10 kilometers. So before, from East London's harbour entrance, which is the entrance to the Buffalo River, about 10 kilometers down the coastline to the southeast, southwest rather. And this entire coastline is very much like this, in fact, all the way up Transkei, or sorry, not the Transkei, for the rest of the Eastern Cape, what used to be called the Transkei, the Wild Coast. Lots and lots of rocky beaches and cliff, lots of cliff faces and all that kind of thing. It's wonderful though. Really lovely part of the world. And as I had said, as a child, spent 2 years of my life here with Mum and Dad. In fact, I began my schooling in East London, so got to see a lot of these different beaches. And lots of sand dunes as well, as I recall, where we don't have those we don't have that kind of coastline further up north in Durban, for example, where I am now. This coastline here is much more. Yes, there are kind of rocky outcrop areas, but mostly long golden beaches. Anyway, so passing this place was quite delightful, because it was just this early morning, kind of an overcast sky, and which gave rise to the silvery ambience of this piece, of the scene. Very still, gentle, maybe a slight offshore breeze that just took the top off the wave as it came through. I won't say then it was a gentle breeze. It was probably more like a stiff breeze, but offshore, so it was moving outwards. So it just takes the top off the waves, of the rollers as they pass, as they begin to crumble. So a rather pleasant scene. Not an angry sky, so it's much more calming. The sea was otherwise fairly glassy as well, adding to the silveriness of the whole, like a liquid silver, if you know what I'm saying, rather than that deep blue or deep blues and turquoises. So a very different color treatment from my other more recent seascapes. So this broad reef of rocks, and of course lots and lots, and you can see in the foreground here where the receding water has left these pools of water, and of course they're full of seaweed and little fish and all sorts of life, crabs and what have you, that fill these little places and nooks and crannies and whatnot. And in between you've got these little pools of water, puddles and pools reflecting the sky above. So you've got the entire scene here is just this wonderful silveriness to it. So, incidentally, welcome to my new subscribers, and there are a few of you. I don't have many subscribers on my channel, even though I've got a great deal of posts already. Obviously, because I'm uploading these videos almost every single day, except for weekends and what have you, and then missing a few days here and there. But by and large, I'm uploading a new video post every weekday. So yes, welcome to you new guys. I really appreciate the support. And many of you now, I think, come from the what's it called, Oceans and Seascapes art group, whatever it is, on Facebook. So it's a fantastic group by and large. It really is. It's probably the best art group. Well, especially with regards to seascapes and whatnot. And water, ocean and water landscape painting, something like that. I forget what the group is called, but anyway, it's wonderful. Really enjoy it. Lots of fantastic and different artworks in there. Really good. So and what I enjoy most about it is the level of support and encouragement and just good vibes. We need more of that in this grumpy old world we live in. I guess for many people, though, these YouTube sessions are just a bit too long to sit through. I do always like to share the entire process from start to finish, and then usually prattle my way through, sometimes talking about technique and what I do and why I do it. Other times not. Other times I'm speaking about something completely off topic. But the whole point of these sessions is for my own development. So as an artist, as a thinker, I think in many cases artists are more than just the makers of marks on pages and canvases. And that applies to all kinds of art forms, music and entertainment as well. As an artist, you're somewhat of a philosopher and a teacher and what have you as well, I guess. Which reminds me of a comment that famous South African jazz pianist Abdullah Ibrahim, or what he used to be known as Dollar Brand, once said was that musicians or artists, you could lump into the same boat, are more than just entertainers. They are teachers as well, and always have been, if you think about it, throughout history. Teaching has been given through singing, through song, through music, through art, most definitely, painting, going back tens of thousands of years and more, rock art and what have you. It's all, well, not only teaching but also documenting as well. There are stories in rock art that go back long before any form of written word existed, perhaps before even language per se. So and these, so if you can imagine maybe an artist, a bushman artist in a cave, using his, or her, I don't know. Why do we always say that? Why do we always refer to his? Anyway, so you can imagine this person in a cave, mixing up their pigments and what have you in little stone receptacles, and using a branch or something with a mushy tip, and painting antelope and buffalo and men with spears and what have you, fertile women, onto the walls of a cave, and perhaps you might find they might not be alone, so they've got the whole community sitting around, making fire, making food. Maybe the children are sitting watching. I can well imagine that. And perhaps the artist is, as he's working, as I do, as I'm doing here, I'm sitting talking as I work, and I often do with my mental meanderings, as I call them. All the kids are sitting around with their little carved toys of mammoths and whatnot. I don't know. And the artist is telling them about what he or she's doing and why, telling the story. And the story, perhaps the children remember and retell again. Perhaps one or two of the children become artists themselves, and continue to tell the same story through art. So I don't know what got me onto that topic, but yes. So these sessions for me are both my teachings, as well as, and predominantly for me to learn about myself, and to think things through. And that's the reason why I engage in these sessions so early in the morning. Wonderful time of day to start. So I begin about 10 to 4 in the morning, and so I get up at 3:30 thereabouts, go through to the kitchen, feed Mr. Kit Kat. Obviously he's always ready, hungry and ready at that time of the morning, especially after having been out gallivanting. And then I come through and begin my session. So so it's great for easy thinking. It's great to, in starting one's day at that time, at this time, it's always one. For me, the important thing is to begin one's day in creative expression, and to also teach that philosophy, because when you begin with creativity, when you begin a day, you don't have to be an artist, but just with creative expression and observation. In other words, perhaps just, many of you do, in any case, perhaps make your tea, coffee, or whatever it is in the morning, and you go and sit outside and watch the sunrise. And it's just about observing. It's so important just to still the mind and just observe the real world that is around us, and not this chaotic busyness, charging hither and thither, stress, turmoil, traffic, anger. It's important to find that time of stillness. And when you observe nature, when you observe your surroundings, no matter where you live, listening to the first bird calls in the morning, birds prolifically, they break out into song and to welcome the new day. When you start to observe those kinds of things early in the morning, the rest of the day kind of pans out really well, I find, in that very little actually manages to trouble you, because you've already started the day realizing what matters the most. Feeling the earth under your feet, and breathing the morning air, watching the light change, listening to the birds, whatever other little creatures are out there, also getting about their routine for the day. That's the stuff that matters. The rest can just carry you away. Our daily doing of life, it really can just take a hold of us, and with all of its challenges and what have you, and almost ruin us if we allow it. Right, I am going to stop yakking now. Well, no, not really, but I'm going to start adding some colour in to this piece. So let's go with this for now. Just a little bit of pale turquoise. And a little bit of this pale green as well. Both similar hues. Now, just start with a little bit of deep green. So I've got this, just bringing this, the jade color in, and you find that this jade, this particular wonderful jade, comes through in these conditions where there's less of blue sky reflecting off the ocean. And so you've got this wonderful rich green of the ocean that comes through. This is what I was saying, I think yesterday in a previous session about the moods of the ocean. So we've got this lovely calm. Jade always has it reminds me of the stone, obviously, and of course of a jade vine. The jade vine blooms, and there's this wonderful calmness about the color jade. If you think of the stone, it's cool to the touch. It's soft in its nature. This pale jade green. It's not vibrant, and yet it is. Such a lovely color. I also need to introduce a little bit of blue, of course. Just a touch though, just to so in fact, most of the color in this piece is just in this section of wave where it curves and you see into the water. The rest is basically flat sea that's reflecting the sky above, which is grey. And yes, so we've got that quite a nice, just a touch of color. I'm going to also add some color into the sky above, a little bit of lilac, and that will also be reflected in the flat water here below. Right, Right, and let's actually do that very thing. Add some lilac up above. Let's move that down a bit. Well, so that's the darker lilac and then the paler lilac as well. And of course this piece has this horrible wrapper on it, which they've completely botched because the wrapper has got far too much glue on the underside and it just sticks, completely bonds to the pastel itself. It's just horrible. And it's the same. So I buy these pastels loose pastels. So in fact they're a particular brand, and then you can just pick out loose ones as you need them. So it's the same brand as the other ones, which have got a plastic wrapper. This has got a paper wrapper. The plastic wrappers I don't have any trouble with peeling them off. This one, I don't know why they do that. Perhaps it's old stock, I don't know. See, now I've got bits of glue and stuff getting horrible. I really need to complain to the suppliers. And I don't see it as complaining, I see it as informing, because the suppliers aren't the ones that are actually using the product. Excuse me. I've got an itchy nose. And a little bit of pale blue also. And let's just add some of this blue as well. So this piece is going to be much more subtle in terms of its colour treatment than other seascapes that I do. just subtly bringing up the, darkening the, giving depth to this piece now. So just adding to the contrast. I shan't finish this piece today, by the way. I'll finish it tomorrow, because I do want to add some acrylic as well to the white, as in terms in the form of white highlights. Yes, so back to what I was saying before about these. So I record the whole session, start to finish. So the entire artwork is now on record. The whole process might be too long for some to watch through, and others enjoy it as well. But these aren't tutorials. That's the one. That's what I want to also stress, is that the sharing of this, it is more of a sharing than it is a tutorial. So I like to share the process with you guys, what I do, why I do it, etc. And yes, I'll talk about technique and whatever that I might be doing, but at the same time, I'm not actually. These are not teaching. These aren't lessons. These are not tutorials. They're just sharing the progress and my thinking as well. So it's more than just an art session, really. And as I've explained, I get to do a lot of thinking and a lot of working things through. In fact, just talking things through is what helps me, gives meaning to what I do. So that's fundamentally what these sessions are about. So I do hope you enjoy them for what they are. And I would love to have your feedback, wherever, whenever, about whatever. Share your thinking. And do hit the like button. It always brings more people as well along the way, which is, I'll try and grow my subscription. Right, let's use a little bit of white here. Yeah. So just building on the form of this piece now, and starting to work a little bit more with line. still a little bit more rudimentary at this stage. I'm just more introducing the color, and tomorrow I shall clean up and polish and all of that kind of thing that needs to be done. Right, now I want to use my Conte crayon, white Conte. So there's generally speaking, there's three. I have three mediums that I use here. The charcoal, the chalk pastel, and the Conte, with an additional fourth of acrylic paint sometimes, but not always. And from what I've been told, it's quite an unusual combination. So I don't know, I just kind of discovered it, kind of just working away and realized that these mediums worked together quite nicely. So they kind of just stuck. You can hear the painted reed frog in the background. I have a feeling today is starting out a little bit overcast, because I don't hear any bird calls yet, which means it's still dark outside. I haven't been out yet. I shall go out immediately after the session and sit and watch the dawn if there is any to watch. While I'm uploading this video and have my tea, all that stuff. That's my routine, my early morning routine. Excuse me, I keep wiping my nose. I don't have a runny nose, not that disgusting. I have an itchy nose, that's all. It won't seem to leave me be. Just working up this the contrast of this reflective surface here of the pools of water that have been left behind by the previous waves or the receding tide. And perhaps that's why it's more of a calm scene, because you don't have these charging waves. It's more gentle and perhaps it's more receding. So, as you can see, as I work over this piece, and it's the contrast that really starts to bring this piece to life, giving it form, etc. As much as the color does. The color always, the addition of color, introduction of color, always transforms an artwork. But so does the contrast. But the contrast, however, is worked on throughout, so it's not quite as obvious as the introduction of color. Color immediately makes a difference, but contrast I've been working on since the get-go. But the odd highlight might make a difference as well, and just punch up certain spots. And most certainly when I start to add the white acrylic, and that really punches up the highlights, so that really makes the piece pop. And perhaps, I'm using now my little Conte crayon, a little nib of it, and I like to use these things right until the end, just like I do with soap. When you're using these little slivers of soap in the shower and they drop and then they disappear, you can't see them, especially when you're using glycerine soap. Anyway, so and the use of white line kind of hints at the glistening, reflective surface of these rocks that are still wet, but they are this dark black granite, whatever rock formation they are, but where they are still left wet, they have this glistening surface reflecting the sky above, but that I hint at with the use of some white lime and the Conte crayon is a much harder consistency than the pastel, so it doesn't apply as readily. So you can actually get a much softer line than you do with the pastel. There's our toppy. Goodness me, he's late. It's nearly 5:15. And for those of you who have just recently subscribed to my channel, I live in Durban, South Africa, so here in the southern hemisphere we're starting to ease out of summer, and Durban summers are very summery, hot, and in fact even today is still quite humid, hot and sunny and dry, and then we start moving into a rainy a little bit of a rainy season, and then April and May are generally the best months. It's warm without being hot. It's very calm, gentle weather. But as we shift into towards autumn or fall, whatever you want to call it, the days become longer. So the days become shorter rather. So it's now, whereas previously our sunrise was around about 5 o'clock during the height of summer, it's, as of now, it's in about an hour's time, just a little bit more than an hour's time. It's about 10 to 6 in the morning, but it doesn't fluctuate that much as it does in other latitudes further away from the equator. We're subtropical here, so we've got not that much of a fluctuation. And the difference between, in terms of sunrise and sunset, between Durban and Cape Town, which is right down at the end of Africa, the bottom, is quite marked, especially the seasonal change of time of sunrise and sunset. So during the summer months in Cape Town, the sun only sets 7:30, maybe later. Whereas Durban, there's far less of a fluctuation in terms of the sunrise and sunset between summer and winter. However, it is still apparent, and that's why I said that our morning toppy, as we call it, the bulbul shrike, is much later as we approach autumn. And he's the first bird call of the day, every day, without fail. So you can hear both him and the reed frog in the background. I'm not sure if you can hear him, but anyway, he is there. Okay, folks, I think we're almost out of time now, so I'm going to end off today's session. Hope you've enjoyed it. Thank you for joining in. And yes, thank you for bearing with me, my rambling thoughts and what have you. So welcome again to those new subscribers, and do bring more mates and join in and hit bell icons to get a notification of when I upload a new video every day. So anyway, oodles and oodles of toodles. Have a fantastic day further. Be good, be kind, be gentle, be caring, be loving, and do tune in again to the Tube again tomorrow for the, I'm assuming, the final session of this piece. And yeah, so have a good one meantime, and see you again soon. Bye. And don't forget to doodle.